once again for the renegade master. Back 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 once again for the renegade master.
Hello my renegades, and we are back. And what are we back into? We are back to Married at First Sight UK, and we are on series 8 and now episode 11. And as I already said from the last episode, I'm going to call it Confessions on the Couch. That's what I'm calling it. I'm calling it Confessions on the Couch, because that's what they're there for, really, to be fair. To confess their shit and then listen to what the experts have to say, and hopefully take on board what the experts have to say, to be honest with you. And this one was a doozy of a one, to be fair. So then it moves to the couples in their respective flats having a chat, and the first people you see is Brad and Shona. The only thing I am going to say about Brad is I think he's slightly emotionally abusive. Now, this is from my perspective and my perspective alone. You can take whatever you will from what you watch, but I see an abusive type of character in Brad. And he's using that under the guise of being dominant within the relationship. And he is trying to dominate Shona. That's how I'm seeing it. He's trying to dominate Shona and doesn't like it when she comes out of the box that he put her in. Because that's what he's done. He's put her in this little gilded little cage. And when she comes out, he's trying to snip her wings to put her back in so she doesn't fly off. That's how I'm seeing it. And this is what I mean about these types of programs. Yeah, so when you see those abusive traits come to the forefront and you don't do anything initially about them, then how far do you let that go on, like, before it becomes harmful to the other person? And that's my main, I think that's kind of my main gripe about Married at First Sight UK, because this isn't the first episode that you've seen this type of behaviour from someone. You've seen it in previous episodes, and you also see it in the Australian one as well. And it's like they don't do anything to protect the person that's receiving that kind of abuse from someone. And then also to the fact that they allow them to re-enter that toxic bloody behaviour by when they do the reunion, and allow that abuser to be in the same space as the victim or survivor. So that's my main gripe about these types of shows. Anyway, so you see Shona and Brad are talking again about the rankings and this, that and the other, and how they felt about the rankings. And again, I would say, Brad, if you don't need external validation, why are you so bothered about the rankings? Why are you so bothered? Why do you care where you was ranked at the end of the day? Because you are trying to say that this love that you have with Shona is all encompassing, that it's nobody else's business but your own. Why are you bothered? If that's the way you think, why are you so bothered? And this is why I'm saying it's Brad as well who needed the external validation from the people around him, not just between him and Shona at the end of the day. And it is quite telling, as I've already said previously, that he didn't really make any friendships with any of the couples in there. He'd rather live in some type of bubble. But I would say at the end of when she was talking, Shona was right in her estimations that her views won't always align with his. But the problem with that is, yes, she can see that, and yes, she didn't back down at the table, but the thing of it is when she needs to speak up, it's either she's not able to speak up, or she doesn't speak up. She keeps quite quiet and is not very vocal at the times where she needs to defend herself. Basically, Ella is talking about the fact that she's learned a lot of things in regards to Nathaniel when it comes to how he ticks, which is best for her. But then on the flip side, as I'd already talked about at the dinner, he didn't connect with Ella. He was connecting with the two women around him because they were feeding into what he wants in terms of this deep intellectual conversation, and she weren't able to feed into that, or he was not allowing her that space to show him that she can actually do what is being asked of her. And again, each time she tries to talk about situations with him, they either get into a little bit of a slanging match, and then he kind of shuts her down as well. but neither one of them at that point are listening to each other or trying to come to some type of compromise. But I would say from watching this, Ella has compromised and tried as much as she can do. And it is a scary thought in terms of what your partner is asking you to do, in terms of being more open, in terms of feeding into their wants and needs when you have your own wants and needs that are not being met at all, because Nate is not meeting her wants and needs either. Let's put that plainly across there. It's just lacking in all areas for both of them. That's all I can say. It's lacking in all areas for both of them. So he does come over to her and does admit that, you know, that he recognizes that it may have been seen as bad, that, you know, she had to sit there and listen to him to have these conversations that he should be having with her, with other people around him, and the fact that he was very tactile with them and he's not very tactile with her. But my thing is I don't understand where that change has come. I know I've highlighted this before in the previous episode, but I don't understand where that change has come, because when they first met each other, he lit up like a motherfucking rocket at the end of the day, and he was literally holding her, he was kissing her, he was holding her hand, he was touching her face, he was moving. So he was being tactile with her, but from the wedding to, I think when it got to the honeymoon, something kind of switched off in him, like really switched off in him. And I don't think he's fully telling the truth of what it is. Yes, he's highlighting certain issues that are a problem for him, but I don't think he's fully highlighting the truth of what it is with Ella that he's just not connecting with. So we know that Laura goes to the commitment ceremony. Yeah, that's what it's called, the commitment ceremony. I'm still going to call it Confessions of the Couch, because that's what it is to me. So Laura goes alone to the Confessions of the Couch because Arthur is still ill. And basically, she's saying that she wants people to see her differently. And again, I will say, but you burst onto our screens, giving the vibe and the energy that you gave. Giving the vibe and the energy that you gave in regards to being a little bit stuck up. I'm not going to go so far as, again, saying gold digger, because, you know, I don't know, nobody knows any other person's financial circumstances in this way, shape or form, or how they conduct themselves in relationship when they're not on this show in that sense. So I ain't going to go so far as to call this girl a gold digger. I will go so far as to say that she gave the people the impression, or she gave me the impression, that she was quite stuck up, to be fair. Anyway, she is basically struggling with what Luke said about her, and she's basically saying that they've not made an effort with her to get to know her or get to know Arthur in that sense. And I'm like, but you ain't made an effort with them. And I see when they're sitting on the chair, and every time Jay spoke, didn't happen in this one, but every time Jay spoke, she put her nose up in the air like she really didn't like how Jay spoke or how she put her words across. Because like myself, Jay is common as muck and I love it. I absolutely love the way that she speaks. She's so down to earth and she has no airs and graces about her. And it's quite telling that the friend that Laura would make or is quite close to is someone like Shona at the end of the day. But even then at the beginning, she fussed her face up at Shona, but then Shona did turn around and say, like, you know, she's already in love with her husband. And I was like, how the fuck does that happen when you have never met him in your life? Anyway, I'm digressing and moving off the point. So we get to the Confessions of the Couch, aka the commitment ceremony. So Roz and Thomas come first. And basically, even though they're smiling with each other, there's the connection with them two is still off. The connection with them two is still off. They don't even touch each other in that sense. And she doesn't really necessarily look at him. Basically, Thomas has admitted that, you know, there's kind of like a glass pane between them. And basically he cannot get through it, and he doesn't want to hurt her either. Feels like they are stuck, and they are stuck, completely stuck, because there's nothing there. Thomas wants there to be something there. Like, he does like Roz. I believe he likes Roz, but Roz does not like him in the slightest. Like, seriously doesn't like him in the slightest. She turns around and she says that she feels that Thomas believes that she's basically saying a lot of I don't knows in the conversations. And she's saying, but that's not true. And I'm like, you do though. The whole episode, when I listen to you talking, even previously when I were listening to you talking, Thomas is asking you questions, like really questions that he wants to know the answers to. And the first was like, I don't know. It was, I don't know. And I'm like, well, what do you know, Roz? Like, seriously, let's concentrate on what you do know and what you can answer, and then go with it that way. Just go with the flow that way. But yeah, they're trying to say that they're at a good starting point. And I just think they're trying to push something that is not there, and it's never going to be there. And their decision is they did right stay. And I'm just like, why? At this point, I'm questioning people. I'm just like, why would you write stay? I don't understand why you would write stay when you can clearly see it's been 2 weeks, coming up to 3 weeks now, and nothing has changed between the both of you. What makes you think that something miraculously is going to happen to say, oh, now look where we are in this marriage, it's working, it's doing X, Y, and Z, it's meeting our expectations? Because it isn't going to. It isn't going to, and I don't understand why they're at stay. But anyway, I shall move on to the next. So then we go to Terence and Portia. And again, I'm living for these two right now. Like, proper living for these two right now, because they're really getting on. And Terence makes me laugh with the way that he talks about her now, and the way that he's so excited being in her presence. And basically he says it's been a good week between the both of them. And Portia has said that she's starting to let herself go. And that's when Terence came in with the comment, well, it's her eyes. Her eyes say a lot when she's not saying a lot. So he's kind of picking up on the non-verbal cues from her too, which is really, really good. Which is good. That's what I say, which is really, really good. And she said it was nice walking into that dinner party because they were not the drama. This time they were not the drama. And it was nice walking into that dinner party with her husband hand in hand. And that's how she said it felt like he was her husband and they were on the same page. And that's all that she wanted. And basically she's learning to let the little things go. And Terence is saying that he's learning to compromise more, and it is about give and take. And of course, they made the decision to stay. So then it goes on to Peggy and George. And I have to admit that they do actually look good together. Peggy and George actually do look good together. But Peggy, again, harps on about the task and the fact that her biggest value for her is children. And George's position on children was at the bottom. And basically he was saying that that can change, and he would want that with Peggy because he's basically married to her now, but she's worried that his mind can change so quickly, and she's worried that he's just saying what she wants her to hear. I've said that from the beginning, like from when they were having their talks and she was getting to know George, and it's the issue around the hypothetical freaking porn stuff and adult entertainment stuff, and she didn't like that answer. Then it was the fact of him doing his what's it called? His bloody networking, his gaming station, and the fact that he was squatting, and she didn't like that either. And this is what I'm saying. So when issues went on, it was always George who went to her to apologize and say that she was right, and then literally say the things exactly as she wanted to hear them. And this is what I'm saying. If you keep doing that, then how are you supposed to literally work on stuff? How are you supposed to literally work on stuff, or let her know when you are not happy with something and see how it goes from there? Because at the end of the day, you're meeting her need to say that she's right. You're placating everything to her to have that easy life. But at the end of the day, you're just making it easier for yourself, because all you're doing is saying what you want her to hear. At the end of the day, if children is not all that important to George, people can have a difference of opinion, and yes, they can compromise, but you can't really necessarily fully compromise on the issue with children, because Peggy really wants kids and she wants to be with someone who really wants children as well. So yeah, I don't know where they're going to go with that one, to be fair. I really don't know where they're going to go with that one, but we shall see. So they both stay, which we knew would happen because they literally think they're in a good place and they want to continue doing what they're doing. And then we go to Ella and Nate, and straight away I was like, this is going to be a hard one. Like, seriously, this is going to be a hard one for these two, but we'll see how they get on. And when they were talking, he turned around and he said he realised he's a 36-year-old guy, and basically Ella's life has just been about her transitioning, and he pointed out that he's scared that Ella would not be able to give him what he needs. But my thing is but then he won't give her the chance. He won't give her the chance. He won't give her a chance for him to find out whether she can provide what he's looking for. Yes, he's 35 years old. Yes, she is younger. Yes, her experiences have been different to his, but she may be able to use those experiences in order to provide what he's looking for. But at the end of the day, I don't think he has those conversations with Ella. He's just expecting this person to be able to know what he wants off the bat. So it was quite difficult for Ella through that conversation, and she did get up and she did leave and she did cry, and Nathaniel went straight to her, and again, I keep saying he has her back 100%, but I don't think it's in the way that she wants him to have her back in that sense in regards to the marriage. And basically she did agree that majority of her life, well, most of her life, was about her transitioning, getting to be where she wanted to be in her life, to be accepting of herself and who she is. So basically Ella questioned the fact that he doesn't want flamboyant Ella, he doesn't want crazy Ella, but what Nathaniel has to realize is that is a part of her, that is a part of who makes her Ella at the end of the day. So if you want Ella, you're gonna have to accept all nuances and types of Ella. And if you can't do that, if you can't even accept the flamboyant one or the little bit of crazy Ella, then he really doesn't want her. And that's how I'm seeing it. He really does not want her. And I think she's going to try and do all these things for him, because he hasn't said what he's going to do for her. He hasn't shown what he's going to do for her at the end of the day. I haven't seen any of that. It's what Ella can do for him. And I'm like, if she meets all of these needs that you're asking her to meet, as I've already questioned, what else comes? Is he going to be happy with that, or is he going to find fault with something else? So basically Ella talks about the fact that it's not natural for her to be deep and meaningful with someone, because she admits that she does start off in the physical sense and that doesn't always last. So she's trying to find this different way of communicating with Nathaniel, but it is quite hard for her. And as Ella said, she's never been in love. She don't know what it consists of. She don't know how it's going to work for her, what's going to happen, and how she's going to feel. But and then he said it scares him, as he knows what love is. And then that's what I'm saying. You're not giving her the chance, like seriously, not giving her the chance to actually find out if what you two could have could actually be quite good. And that's how I'm seeing it. He's not giving her a chance. So at the end of all of that, they did stay. Hopefully things will kind of change for them, but I don't see it. I really don't see it changing for them. So then we get to Tasha and Paul, and Paul is basically saying that he is falling in love with Tasha. And they spoke about the fact that Tasha did get physical with him. And I'm glad that Tasha waited, because that's not what it's all about at the end of the day. I'm glad she waited before she got physical with him. Yes, they did everything but in that sense. But I'm glad she kind of waited until the time was right for her, until she felt safe. And that's what she said. Paul is making life easier for her. And they asked her in that moment how she was feeling, and she said safe. And that's what anybody wants to hear. That's what anybody wants to hear in a relationship, especially if you're trying, especially in a marriage, when you're trying to make it work, that the person that you're with makes you feel safe. And that's how Tasha felt with Paul. And of course, yes, they wrote stay. So then we go to Laura. So basically, Laura was saying that it was a challenge walking into the lion's den alone, and basically brought up the fact that it's lazy to label someone as a gold digger. And then everybody started, like, she then started jumping on Luke. And I'm thinking, I bet you anything, it wasn't just Luke that thought that. It's just Luke just been quite vocal about it and doesn't believe that you are being true to Arthur. And at the end of the day, the way you've been behaving with Arthur doesn't lend itself to you actually giving this man a chance. Because as I've said in my previous episodes, that she believes that Arthur is punching when it comes to her. Like really punching high when it comes to her. But I believe she's the one that locked out getting someone like Arthur. And she literally needs to open up and give this man a chance. So basically, Luke said his first impression of her was that she was stuck up. That was my first impression of her. And to be fair, that hasn't really changed. That hasn't really changed for me. So Shona jumped in and frigging well started to defend her. And I'm like, my girl, shut your crow. You've got more things to think about than literally jumping in to defend Laura, who can actually defend herself. Laura's quite vocal. You need to work on yourself and what you need to be saying to Brad at the end of the day. So Arthur writes a letter, and it is a lovely letter in terms of the experiment and the experience itself. And then they both made the decision to stay. So then we get to Luke and Jay. And as already said, I love Luke and Jay. Love them. Love them, love them, love them, love them, love them. Love them. So we get to Luke and Jay. And basically the thing of it is that they've said, Luke gets quite emotional and says, it's the fact that they can be themselves with each other. And Jay said the same thing. It's the fact that she can be who she is with him, with no holds barred, and that's what they love about each other. And of course they made the decision to stay. There wasn't much for them to confess on a confessionals couch at the end of the day, aka the commitment ceremony. So then we get to Shona and Brad. Yes, we get to Shona and Brad. Oh wow, just wowzers, like wow. I basically said that they're not good together. And this is red flag number 7 with Brad, because when I spoke about like the issues that had happened within that week, and Brad started to speak about the issues that had happened within that week, out of that whole conversation, Brad took no responsibility. Brad didn't talk about the fact that he started that situation by chatting his business to the rest of the group, by basically bagging his wife to Laura and everybody else, and basically talking about the intimate details of their marriage that nobody asked for and nobody really wanted to hear, but he put it under the guise of he was venting, people. He was venting. Anyway, he didn't even put himself in that line. It was all about Shona at this point. He was all about Shona. So he was asked, do you think you are emotionally immature? And of course he doesn't think he's emotionally immature. He thinks Shona is, but he doesn't think he is. And he bloody well is. He thinks he's this mature, domineering type of guy, and he's going to fall flat on his rotted face with it. That's all I'm going to say. Basically, he talked about that he was living in his vessel, and he needed to care about himself in other ways. And then he tacked on, if I allow her to get angry, how is she ever going to learn? Oh, I was like, what? Come again? If I allow her to get angry, how is she ever gonna learn? Ross. Oh, Ross. Even the expert Mal turned around and says, you don't allow Shona to do anything. It's your terminology that you're using, and Shona needs to listen to the terminology that you use when you're speaking about her. Because they were afraid that this is getting into a codependent relationship between them both, and that it's not necessarily love that it's happening. It's a case of obsession on Shona's part. So they will probably they were asking Shona a question. Now, my thing is Shona looked to Brad for that validation, to look at him as if to say, I need your help. I can't answer this question by myself. I need to know that I'm saying the right things. I need you to now take over. And he started to talk, and they had to literally cut him dead and says, I was talking to Shona. And then Shona had to speak. She had to speak up for herself. But what she was saying wasn't what she was thinking, because basically she was trying damage control to protect the man sat next to her. Now, this is what I mean about abusive behaviours. That man sat there, patronised her, spoke to her like she was a rotted child, and then basically said, if I allow her to get angry, how will she ever learn? I'm like, you really, with your whole fucking pigeon chest, your whole rotted pigeon chest, got up in front of people and said that? Like, said that? I was like, yeah, nah. No. No. And basically, they asked Shona as well, like, do you feel that he's above you? And she said naturally she does feel that he's above her. And this is where it's the power dynamics here. It's the power dynamics here, because Shona, no. And that's the problem when it comes to situations like this, in terms of that controlling behaviors that Brad was particularly showing. At the end of the day, he was showing that. He was absolutely showing those behaviors, and the fact that he got her to believe that he is above her just shows how much damage and harm he was doing to this woman. Like, seriously, how much damage and harm he was doing to this woman. Because even when he said, if I allow her, how will she learn? Shona was quiet and accepting what he was saying. Like, accepting what he was saying. Like, she was the bad child that had to be reprimanded by this man because he was the one that knew better. Oh, Brad did a number. Brad did an absolute number on this girl. She had no voice at all with him, and she would never have got a voice at all with him. But they then made the decision to stay. But what I'm going to do is just take away from that and talk about a situation that is now being highlighted in regards to them two. So basically, it's now come out that Brad has been kicked off the show after showing controlling and manipulative behaviours towards his wife. And we all know his wife was Shona. Now, my thing is with that is the damage has already been done. The damage and harm to Shona has already been done, because from the dinner party, or even before the dinner party, you could see instances of that controlling and manipulative behaviour. You could see those instances. And even when, like, say, the bits that they don't show, there's a camera crew there all the time. There's either a camera crew, there's cameras in the room, they're being filmed all the time. And there's people there to support and help them, a welfare crew, whatever they want to call it, all the time. How did they not pick up on this shit? How did they not pick up on the behaviours of Brad and what he was doing to Shona systematically? How did it wait until after? Because don't forget, they both stay, so they would have to stay for another week. Why did you let it get that far then for him to leave? Now, my thing is you've already exposed this girl to harm. You've already exposed this girl to harm in her relationship with this man, this marriage to this man, to the point where she believes that this man is above her and she can't function without him. As she said, she's obsessed by him. Now, she would not have let go at that point, that obsession of him. I don't think she would have. So all you've done is basically took her out of this protected space now and throwing her out into the lion's den with this dude, because once you've asked him to leave, Shona can no longer stay there because she no longer has a husband. Not that you couldn't match her with someone else, you could try to match her with someone else in that sense, not that you could have done that, but she no longer has a husband, so she would no longer be able to stay on the show. So now they're out in the big wide world. We don't, well, I haven't heard if they're still together or not, and if they are, then they've culminated that kind of environment for this girl now, unless she's got a very good support network to get her the fuck away from that situation. And this is what I mean about these shows. Yes, how heavy is the vetting process? How heavy do they look into everything? Because this is not the first time that this has happened. This is not the first time that this has happened in the processes of these shows. And you only have to look at Marriage at First Sight Australia as well to see where issues are there too. As I said, I'll bring it back now. They both wrote stay. We already know what's kind of happened, but as again, I'm going to have to like go through the episodes again as they come up to see what further along follows from this. And if we actually get to see that Brad being removed from the show, or they just do it behind the scenes at the end of the day. But I will leave it here, and I'll be back in quick succession with the next episodes. As I always say, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button, so when you know I am back on and doing videos. And I'll speak to you all again soon. Peace out.